Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum Bokai. My name is Fox Dure. I am the brand ambassador of Top Connect. I use Top Connect to send money to my family from UK to the Gambia, and also I use Top Connect to send money to some of my relatives in Ghana and Senegal. Top Connect is fast, secure and reliable, and then you can get money to your families within few minutes. With Top Connect, you are safe. Top Connect is the solution to your financial guidance. With Top Connect, you can be connected worldwide. Top Connect Nyokoyor. So do Top Connect defend, but I'm not Top Connect faster. The charging fee is zero. We charge zero to remit money all over the world. With Top Connect, your finances are secured. Thank you very much. Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum Bokai. My name is Fox Dure. I am the brand ambassador of Top Connect. I use Top Connect to send money to my family from UK to the Gambia, and also I use Top Connect to send money to some of my relatives in Ghana and Senegal. Top Connect is fast, secure and reliable, and then you can get money to your families within few minutes. With Top Connect, you are safe. Top Connect is the solution to your financial guidance. With Top Connect, you can be connected worldwide. Top Connect Nyokoyor. So do Top Connect defend, but I'm not Top Connect faster. The charging fee is zero. We charge zero to make money all over the world. With Top Connect, your finances are secured. Thank you very much.
I would humbly, respectfully remind you of that you're still under oath. Ms. Bensouda, before the break, we dealt with several issues from the order of the High Court, the committee has referenced as MOJ 5A, to the beginning of work on the 17th of July 2017, the organogram, and then we spoke about the investigations. I would wish for you to just give us a rundown, give rather the committee a rundown of the operations of as it pertains to you and whoever you were responsible for.
A rundown.
Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, I tried to carry out my functions as set out in my engagement letter. In order to start public hearing, a significant amount of preparatory work had to be done, because public hearing meant that evidence would have to be presented to the commissioners. So I think public hearing commenced sometime in August, and we had not concluded investigations on any particular topic, but we had to start the hearing, and the most straightforward part was in relation to accounts. So we started with central bank accounts. So my work, which was intensive, because we are at the beginning, we were supposed to be, our duration of the commission was supposed to be 3 months, and of course it was understood that that was not going to be possible. So I basically reviewed investigations, wrote letters, assisted in terms of writing to institutions where further evidence is required. Once we had what we regarded as a significant evidence on any issue, or adequate perhaps is a better word, on any issue, it was presented to the commissioners. So my role really was quite straightforward. I presented all the evidence. Every single exhibit that was tendered was presented by me. But the evidence that was also tendered without witnesses, these were tendered by way of affidavit, I would apply to the commission. That was really towards the end, where there were reports that needed tendering, accounts that had been submitted and needed to be tendered. I would do so by application. So basically, that was my work. But when I started, also, I asked for reports from all those who were, by the order of the High Court, who were assigned a responsibility that includes the receiver appointed by the courts. At that time, the commission had not appointed a receiver. It included the Registrar General and others that were mentioned in the High Court order, to give us a report as to what they were doing, how far they had gotten, and so on. I also accompanied the commission on visits, and it's all in the report where we went and what we visited. And the commission report, the secretary would prepare a report for the commissioners. Unless you have specific questions, by 1 year we had done a substantial part of the work. However, there were still some institutions that needed to be investigated. I think the last institution we worked on was NAWEC, because we had quite a significant amount of preliminary investigation had to be carried out. Then also, apart from the routine submission of evidence at the end of at the almost conclusion, we started writing briefs, because I was under a duty to address the commission. So we wrote briefs on various topics as agreed with the commissioners, that briefs that they wanted, and on the various topics on which they wanted briefs. So the latter part was spent on writing briefs and submitting them to the commission, summarizing the evidence as well. So basically, unless you have questions, that I think generally is what I did in terms of the operations of the commission.
Okay, before we are nearing deliberation on the sales, but before I go on to that, perhaps if you could indulge the committee on any challenges that were registered by you or your team going into the operations and in the operations as well.
Ask within the time frame. So the card system was provided, and the reporters were also provided by the judiciary. So it took time to put that in order, but I think it was fairly within a reasonable time. I think as regards financial resources, issue revolved around the commission's budget, because the commission, as I said, is not an establishment. In my experience, all commissions, at least during the period I was at the Ministry of Justice, both as State Counsel and as Solicitor General, all commissions that were issued by the President, unless it was some other type of commission, but commissions issued under first the Commission of Inquiry Act, which was what was in operation when I was in office. All commissions issued by the President were generally issued under the auspices of the ministry. And it is that ministry that would be responsible. And mostly it was under the Attorney General's Chambers and Minister of Justice. And the Attorney General, being the accounting officer, is supposed to, under its budget, provide funds for the commissions of inquiry. And so, in my experience, they would be given an interest. During the time I served, the Commission of Inquiry would be given an interest, which they will retire. And then it would be refreshed. When they retire, account will be refreshed. I think in this case, I'm not sure. I think the Solicitor General, being the accounting officer for the ministry, was responsible for the funds, and I think the secretary accounted for whatever funds were given. Anyway, I didn't get engaged in the details. I was focused on my engagement and the terms of my engagement. So where I needed resources and they were not forthcoming, I brought my own, in terms of mostly it's computers. And paper, sometimes we run out, I bring my own paper. So I just wanted to do this and finish. I had an assigned engagement, I was counsel, and I just used it, I just approached it as any other case that I would have. So, but I know there was a lot of answer about monies being late, allowances being late, and so on. I don't know how I was paid, but I submitted my office submitted our fee notes on a monthly basis or quarterly basis. I can't even remember. I think it's monthly. These were sent to the Attorney General. It was then sent to the Accountant General, and the Accountant General would pay directly into our farm accounts, less the tax. So I didn't really. I don't think I had challenges I could not surmount. So in terms of State Council and Council, the agreement was that I'll be given support by the Attorney General, and right from the beginning I was given one counsel. Later on I was given more, but at some point I didn't have any, and I had to kind of complain, and then they sent more lawyers. So I did appreciate that very much, because at some point we had about 6 or 7 lawyers, some from the AG's office, some from my office. Now, in terms of investigations, we also did have support. I think it was quite apparent that the capacity to investigate outside Gambia was limited. So if I recall, I think we had, it was clear that it would be possible to get support at no cost to government. And I think through the Ministry of Justice, either Ford Foundation, I can't remember now, but I'll have to check it if you're interested. Ford Foundation funded a group of investigators. I think they were an FTI group. And they all worked on NAWEC and worked on some other aspects. But again, it was free of charge to Gambia government. Also, we had to send teams of investigators to investigate some of the embassies. So I wrote to the Attorney General and made a case for them to be paid from government revenue, government travel budget. It was not, as it seems to be thought, it was not from commission budget. The commission budget was controlled by the Secretariat. But as far as investigations were concerned, outside, I wrote to the Attorney General, because he was in charge of investigations by virtue of the High Court case. So I think 3 missions were fielded. One went to the embassy in USA, another went to the embassy in Morocco, and another went to the embassy in Dakar. I think these were the 3. So the teams were constituted. I think the one that went to US, one investigator went. I can't remember who exactly now, but I'll have to check the records. I don't want to make a mistake. And they were accompanied by the Solicitor General and one of my senior counsel from my office, I think, went to America with the investigator. The second team went to Morocco with one state counsel and one investigator, or 2 investigators. I'll have to, if you're interested, I'll have to check the details. Then the other team went to Dakar with 1 lawyer. That lawyer was from my office. So it was kind of 50-50, 2 state law office, 2 from my team that went on these missions. So basically, this is the investigation side. And whatever they brought was reviewed and was tendered. And if there were gaps, further investigation could be done. But as I said, we didn't have the capacity for international investigation. So in the end, there were recommendations made in the reports. If you read the reports, you will see them there, especially volume 1, about follow-up investigation that needed to happen. Also, we investigated all the institutions that were set out in the terms of reference of the Commission. We were guided by the terms of reference. But then there were other other investigations that were followed because they were not in terms of reference. Some things came up and we had to investigate. In the end, institutions like Assets Management and Recovery Company, I say this because I think I did read in the papers that perhaps Assets Management and Recovery Company ought to have been charged with responsibility for something relating to the assets. But Assets Management and Recovery Company could not have been charged because if you look at the report, there are issues relating to their relationship with the former president that were the subject of investigation. But we could not conclude, and we recommended that AMRC should be further investigated. So basically, unless you have questions for me, I think that gives a kind of overview of the work that we did. It was a great deal of work, and I think generally, work of this nature always has some challenges, but I think they were handled quite well. We had a very efficient chairman, highly respected, very knowledgeable in the law. And I think it made my work easier that I had such a knowledgeable chairman because we pretty much would agree on the law. But of course, he was the chair and they were the commissioners. I was just a lawyer. I advised and I made submissions. There were points where they did not agree with me and ruled against me. So that was as it should be. And but I don't regret having been lead counsel. I think there's a lot of assumptions and perhaps lack of understanding of perhaps what transpired. And the end was quite disappointing, I think, in the end, what happened to the reports and how they were executed. But that is not my forte, and I did what I was supposed to do. I wasn't a commissioner, I was a lawyer. We were functus. I submitted my report, and I really never took any interest in what happened after that. Thank you.
Thank you for that very extensive explanation. And I'm happy to hear that your time as lead counsel, you have no regrets. I would, however, like for you to touch on Switzerland, whether a team was dispersed to Switzerland during the investigation.
Switzerland?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Switzerland, no. No.
From perusal of most of the documents, it's inferred, heavily inferred, that there were constraints, such as time constraints. And yes, perhaps the investigations couldn't go to certain extents as perhaps yourself or the investigators would have liked. Is that, can you confirm or deny that?
There were time constraints. If you look at the TOR, I mean, a glance at the TOR would reveal that it was self-evident that we could not finish the investigations within 3 months, and certainly not within 6 months. So if you read the report, there were time constraints in that I think we were given 3 months, 6 months extension. Then we were extended for, I think, twice, for another 6 months. Anyway, the whole thing took 18 months. And we did what we could do in those 18 months because the time pressure came from partly the government. The commission was part of the issue of the commission. It's an executive mandate, and it was part of the executive's objectives in the transitional justice program that they set. And so 18 months is short or long, it's relative. If you have a term of 5 years, 18 months is quite significant. So I think I did understand that the executive was under pressure to get a report on which they could implement their transitional, perhaps implement recommendations to address or carry out reforms. That was my understanding, that they were anxious to carry out reforms have a report on which they could base such reforms. Secondly, the other, I think, pressure was in relation to assets. I think that in particular, the president had been sitting on quite a lot of assets, particularly in the TDA. And these assets, many of them were leased to him. Of course, some were not leased to him, but many were leased to him, significant chunks. So I believe the government wanted to be able to execute some projects, and particularly since it at the time was working on holding this meeting, conference. So I think there was some pressure for us to finish as well, deal with properties. And I think ideally the government would have preferred that we submit interim reports, and the reports on properties would be interim. But then the commission decided that no, it had to finish all its work, and then we submit its report. So time constraints were on two. Really, time was too short, so we couldn't finish a lot of things. The other constraint was resources. The capacity to investigate the president outside the shores of the Gambia was limited, and it needed international support, which only the Ministry of Justice, only the government can get. And the third constraint was that the government had an agenda, and as a result, they wanted us to finish earlier rather than later. So we did what I think the commission did what they could. For us, Counsel, we put all the investigators could find to the commissioners in terms of what was relevant to the mandate, and we submitted that. We summarized the evidence, and we assisted in any other form that the commission required, and that was it. So the challenges for me were normal. As I said, I was in the ministry for 14 years. I had not really served in a commission as counsel except the Review Commission after the 1981 coup d'etat, when then Kukoy Samba Sanyang attempted a coup, and there was quite a large number of people were detained and they were commissioned. I did serve as counsel, but I had never really served as counsel to a commission under the Commission of Inquiry Act. But I know how they were set up because I was there. So I was drawing from that experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'd go back to look at MOJ 2, MOJ 5A, and MOJ 5C. MOJ 2 is the legal notice, if you have it handy, and 5A and C are the orders of the 22nd day of May and the 21st day of July 2017. And perhaps if I could ask whether MOJ 5A, you had mentioned, we had already spoken about it, the fact that you were briefed in some respect. I would like to...
MOJ 5A is which one?
Is the order of the 22nd day of May.
The High Court order?
Yes, the High Court order. Did MOJ 5, did this freezing order assist in any way in the Commission's mandate?
No. The Commission's mandate was to investigate all assets. I mean, it was wide-ranging, but as far as assets were concerned, it was to investigate all assets that were listed and all assets. Can I borrow your MOJ 5A? I'm not sure.
Perhaps I asked the question because we have noted that when you look at MOJ 2, which is the legal notice number 15 of 2017, and look at the annexures to the order, MOJ 5A, they're identical.
Yes.
So that's the genesis of the question, whether this was all in a bid to assist the operations of the Janneh Commission.
Well, no, the court order came before the Janneh Commission. The
Yes,
court
that is
orders are
noted.
older.
Yes.
And my understanding was that the Attorney General had launched a case under the, as the heading shows, well, the application is not here. But it was under the Anti-Money Laundering and Combating Tourism Act 2012. But then later, I believe, government decided that it was more efficient to carry out investigations by way of commission of inquiry. So the two are related. So the case in the High Court was stayed so that the commission of inquiry could go ahead as the more efficient means of obtaining all the, I think, investigating, obtaining the necessary evidence, and probably making the necessary findings. Yeah, it was more efficient than using the courts. That's what I understood. So the two are related. They complemented each other.
Perhaps let's move on to the sales. I wish to begin from identification of what the assets were first before we actually speak on sales and how that exercise ensued. But I would categorize the assets into the livestock, vehicles, and real property. We can begin with the livestock. How was the identification of livestock?
Well, or rather, the classification of assets, well, I mean, that's your classification, that's fine.
If you have a different suggestion, it's fine.
No, I mean, the assets are listed in the TOR of the commission. It's assets, the properties are set out in the schedule that were to be investigated. The companies and with the lease numbers, and the livestock was not listed, but A is the existence, nature, and method of acquisition of assets and properties, including those set out in the attached schedule. So it was not exhaustive, and any other properties brought to the attention of the commission. And then B is the company's businesses and bank accounts. C is the activities. So that's what we had. So, but assets of obviously is wide enough to cover whatever assets belong to the president.
Of course.
So that's fine. So
yes, the committee's interest, perhaps the members would probe on the other assets. I wish to probe on just the three categories I've mentioned: the livestock, vehicles, and real property. But more so livestock and vehicles. With regards to the livestock, we can see that MOJ 5A, which is the order, bestows it upon, or rather puts it in the custody of the GILMA, the Gambia Livestock, Gambia Livestock Marketing Agency.
yes.
Now, once the matter was stayed and the commission had began operations, from the perspective of identifying the livestock, how did the investigation team go about it?
The livestock, I know that there was a team and that went up that tagged the cattle. I'm aware of that. And that
perhaps before we speak about the tagging, we can lump in the applications and the nature of the order. Perhaps if you can.
Okay, as regards the livestock, as one of those letters that I had written when I started office was to write to Gilmer I think it was I wrote to Gilmer, I wrote to the Registrar General, who was responsible for all movable assets, and asked that they submit reports to the commission, Gilmer wrote, I'm sure you have the letter, I think it was Gilmer. They wrote saying that they had, in fact, not really taken over, and because they had challenges and set out the challenges. Registrar General also wrote to say that, yes, they were trying to take over, but that cattle were missing, and, you know, and so on. So I'm sure you have those correspondence anyway. So yes, I wrote to the Attorney General to draw his attention to the fact that, to the Registrar General's letter, and suggested that action should be taken through the courts. I think ultimately the matter was discussed, was brought to the attention of the commission, and my position was that since it was a court order that attached this asset, it was for the court to make any decision relating to the cattle, because that was where we started. And finally, I think an application was made to the court for the commission. The commission made an order that the cattle should be sold, because otherwise they would all dissipate, the property would disappear. And
my apologies, Ms. Bensouda. If the Secretariat could furnish the witness with, it's in line with your submission now, your evidence now rather. MOJ 8F1, the attachment to it, the order for the sale of cattle, such that the witness is able to peruse and guide us on the order.
Yeah. MOJ3, this is not about cattle.
MOJ 8F1. It's an attachment to MOJ 8F1. It's also in the submission by the chair, but it's easier to reference MOJ documents because they're easily accessible.
This volume doesn't contain.
It's also contained in the chairperson's submission. However, it's easier to reference it from MOJ's documents.
8F1.
Yes.
The interim order. Okay. It's attached, yes, the attachment. Interim order re livestock.
Yes, you can proceed. My apologies for stopping you on your stride.
Okay, yes, this was the order made by, this was an order made 11 December 2017. This was an order made by the Commission. I think, wasn't there another order as well? Yes, so what is your question? This order was made, but it was sent, after it was made, discussions ensued, I believe, as to whether the Commission can just, no, actually, because in this order, if I recall, the leave of the High Court shall be sought in respect of this order, if considered appropriate.
Indeed.
And an application was then sent to the High Court, and I think the matter went before late Justice Jao, and he granted the order for the cattle to be sold, but he ordered that it was the sheriff of the High Court who should be responsible. So by then, I believe the team was set, the tagging team had been set. At least I think I came across correspondence to that effect. So the matter was brought to the attention of the commissioners and the secretary. And that's how I think the sheriff took over the sale of the cattle. And that was the end of my participation in it. I did follow from time to time about the report. I don't think we received the report before we ended. The commission submitted its report. I can't thereafter remember getting involved in the sale of cattle.
So the identification of the livestock was done by the Ministry of Justice, specifically the Registrar General, just to get it right. Is that what you had said?
There was a team.
There was a team, okay.
There was a team comprising Gilma, Registrar General, and the Secretary. I think that's the way it was set up, and I think that's in the that was the team.
So the application was made because of the reports that cattle were getting lost or being slaughtered, if I reference the order.
Yes, if I recollect, the report's response from the Registrar General showed that the cattle was being stolen, I think. So the question was, something had to be done, definitely. So we brought it to the attention of AG, and I think there was some discussion. There must have been. Anyway, did we have the authority? Both the chairperson and I agreed that because of the provision that they had the same powers of a high court to make interim orders. Under similar circumstances, the high court would make preservation orders, and those would include selling, because if you don't sell, whoever you ask to take custody would have to be resourced, would have to be given the money to take care of the cattle. So it was decided that it was sold should be sold pending the outcome of the inquiry or the high court case. So it was in order to preserve and avoid dissipation of the cattle.
Okay, I understand the powers of the commission in its relation to the powers of the High Court to preserve. However, I want to make I would like to know the wisdom behind subjecting the commission's order for leave from the High Court. Was it because there was already an order preserving these assets?
Yes, it was the High Court that issued a freezing order. So the High Court already was seized of jurisdiction So as a commission of inquiry, there cannot be concurrent jurisdiction on the matter that is already before another court. So, so we had to defer to the court. We were not a court, we were just a commission of inquiry. Ordinarily, we had the same power to issue interim orders, but the court was already seized of the dispute, and if we couldn't really do anything relating to the cattle without seeking the approval of the court. And that is why we deferred to the court and advised that the court's leave should be sought.
Thank you, Ms. Bensouda. I understood what you said. I will ask it in a different way, just for the benefit of the members. Can a commission of inquiry set aside the orders of a high court?
No. No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And once it had been ordered by the Honorable Justice Jao, as he then was, that the Honorable Sheriff would conduct the sales. Once the sales had concluded, did the Sheriff's office report back to the commission?
I can't remember receiving a report before the commission ended.
Okay.
I can't remember that.
And out of curiosity, when you submit your final briefs to the commissioners, does it involve analyzing the evidence in totality?
On the subject matter, yes. All the evidence that has been submitted. We summarize all the evidence that have been submitted.
That would have also included the issue of cattle?
No. Okay. Cattle was an interim. The sale of the cattle, ordinarily we just investigate. How did where the cattle acquired? And so on. And there would be a report on that. But I don't think there was any investigation on the acquisition of the cattle. The cattle were treated as assets owned by the president, against which at the end of the day the government could execute, but they were not investigated to that detail.
Thank you. When I look at the operative parts of the order by the commission, especially the third paragraph, the one that begins the secretary. Can you see it?
Yes.
It says that the secretary to the commission shall, in consultation with counsel assisting the commission, take charge of and supervise the process. Now, I ask this question because of this provision. How the valuation of cattle was conducted?
I don't know how the valuation of cattle was conducted, because this was 11 December, and the High Court the Attorney General went to court to seek the leave of the court. I think the court order was dated. Do you have a copy? Justice Jawa's order.
Yes, we do. It should be MOJ 5B. It should be in that compilation.
Okay.
Is it the one?
Okay. Put it down, yes, it's fine. This was on the no emoji. No, this is not the one. This is what they are looking for. Ruling. The ruling is dated 3rd January 2018. The ruling is dated 2nd January 2018.
Yes, we definitely have it. I just need to guide the members. If you could give me a second.
I have it here. If I have a copy.
In any case, we have it in our records. I would furnish the high table with it.
So, as I said, this application, the order of the commission is dated no, it's not this one. The order of the commission is dated 11 December 2017, and the application was filed by the High Court for its approval of the order of the commission. The High Court on the 3rd of January 2018, this is just about 3 weeks, ordered that and leave was granted. However, the Honorable Sheriff of the Gambia is ordered to conduct the sale, and all proceeds of sale paid into an interest-bearing account, and the Gambia Livestock Marketing Agency shall assist the sheriff in the valuation of the livestock. So it's implicit in the order. So,
my apologies, Ms. Bensouda. Honorable Chair, you can find it in OHS 11.
Okay.
OHS 11. Please proceed.
Yes, and the court ordered that the livestock, the Gambia Livestock Marketing Agency shall assist the sheriff in the valuation of the livestock.
We have a copy of the motion, if it would help you with your.
No, I have the ruling. I mean, what the court ordered is what is important.
Indeed.
So it ordered that the livestock be sold. It be sold by the sheriff, and Gambia Livestock Marketing Agency would assist the sheriff in the valuation of livestock. I know a tagging exercise had taken place earlier, and the tagging was to identify the livestock and give them numbers. And I know it was the livestock agency and the secretary that worked together in the tagging. But when it came to valuation and sale, as far as I know, it was then valued by the livestock agency and sold by the sheriff. After the High Court, to be honest, after the High Court ruling, I lost interest. I didn't follow up.
That's fine. Just by way of information, the Gambia Livestock Marketing Agency confirmed that they did not value the cattle. The cattle were then subsequently valued on the ground by a few individuals, including the Office of the Sheriff, including also the Registrar General at the time, and a private individual.
Well, that's a breach of the order of the court, and I'm sure if it had been brought to the attention of the court, some action would have been taken.
Certainly, it is a breach of the order of the court, and I would extend it to the breach of the confidence of the Commission, because the Commission made the order in a bid to preserve the value. And
it was a what of the Commission? The confidence is a what?
The breach of the confidence of the Commission.
Well, I wouldn't say that. The Commission really did not the Commission's interest was only to ensure that the assets that it was being asked to investigate were actually preserved. Now, the High Court, when the High Court intervenes and says this is the way it's to be done, then that was the end of the Commission's role as far as the preservation of the assets were concerned. So the Commission moved on. And really, I don't think there was any interest in the cattle. After that, I don't think so. I can't remember any interest in the cattle. But the High Court is the court. You know, its mandate was superior to the mandate of the Commission, and it was seized of the matter. So it was entirely the business of the High Court how they proceeded after they made the order.
I agree with you, but I would go on to say that it was a breach of the confidence of the Commission because it was the initiative to preserve the cattle emanated from the Commission, and from what the committee has heard from witnesses, once the court had ordered for the process to begin from the Gambia Livestock Marketing Agency and end with the Office of the Sheriff, by the admission of the Sheriff at the time on record and the admission of the Director of Gilma at the time on record, they failed in their duties. And that's the genesis of why I say the confidence of the Commission was breached. But it's neither here or there. I would like us to look at the other sales with respect to the procedure you took with the cattle. Let's move on to the vehicle sales. Please take us through the manner in which the vehicles were identified.
As regards the vehicles, the Commission had carried out visits to various locations, to inspection visits.
Actually, Ms. Bensouda, my apologies for interjecting again. Honorable Chair, I would ask that we stand down for about 2 minutes. I don't wish for us to go off air. It's just a stand down. I wish to consult you.
Okay. Then sit down for 2.
Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum Bokai. My name is Fox Toure. I am the brand ambassador of Top Connect. I use Top Connect to send money to my family from UK to the Gambia, and also I use Top Connect to send money to some of my relatives in Ghana and Senegal. Top Connect is fast, secure and reliable, and then you can get money to your families within few minutes. With Top Connect, you are safe. Top Connect is the solution to your financial guidance. With Top Connect, you can be connected worldwide. Top Connect nyoko yor. So do Top Connect defend, but on Top Connect fasa. The charging fee is 0. We charge 0 to remit money all over the world. With Top Connect, your finances are secured. Thank you very much.